The cold bites deep, yet discipline must be stronger.
Picture this. It's the year 1150. The sun sets before 5 p.m., snow drapes the monastery in silence, and the icy wind cuts through the countryside like knives. Winter in the Middle Ages was no gentle season. It was brutal. No electricity, no central heating, no heated water pipes. For most peasants, surviving winter meant a daily battle against freezing temperatures, illness, and hunger. Yet within the stone walls of monasteries, monks found ways not just to survive, but to thrive. They became masters of winter resilience, developing clever architectural tricks, practical routines, and even psychological strategies that carried them through the coldest months. Today, we're uncovering 10 ingenious ways medieval monks thrive through winter's frostiest nights. And the surprising part? Many of their techniques still hold lessons for us in our modern world of rising energy costs and fragile supply chains. Monks didn't leave their survival to chance. Their monasteries were built like fortresses against the cold. Many were strategically placed in sheltered valleys, away from harsh winds, or along hillsides that offered natural insulation. Architects thought about sun exposure, orienting buildings to capture as much daylight and warmth as possible during winter months. The cloisters, covered walkways that connected the different parts of a monastery, weren't just for peaceful prayer walks. They formed a kind of thermal buffer, protecting inner rooms from biting winds. Think of it like a medieval airlock system. Before you reached the sleeping quarters or library, you'd already passed through sheltered passages that held back the cold. By design, monasteries functioned like ecosystems where every wall, window, and courtyard was carefully positioned to work with nature rather than against it. Step inside a monastery, and you'd notice something most peasant huts lacked: heat-conscious design. The walls themselves were massive, often 3 to 6 feet thick. These stone giants acted as thermal batteries, soaking in warmth during the day and releasing it slowly at night. Small, high windows minimized heat loss while still letting in light. And then came the game changer, the calefactory, or warming room. This was one of the only heated spaces in the monastery, where monks gathered on the coldest days to thaw their frozen hands and copy manuscripts. Some monasteries even positioned stables near walls so that the body heat of animals bled through to adjacent rooms. This wasn't luxury. It was survival engineering. By thinking about airflow, insulation, and shared heat sources, monks turned bare stone into a surprisingly livable winter sanctuary. Unlike nobles who had private chambers, monks lived in dormitories, long shared halls where dozens of beds were arranged side by side. At first glance, it seems uncomfortable, but it was brilliantly efficient. When bodies are packed together, they generate measurable warmth. A dormitory full of monks could be several degrees warmer than an empty one. Their strict schedules, midnight prayers, dawn chants, communal meals, meant they were almost always together. Every shared moment was an opportunity to generate and conserve heat. This communal survival extended into their routines. Manual labor in the fields, long chants in cold chapels, and walks in the cloister weren't just spiritual, they kept blood circulating. By living in unity, monks turned brotherhood into a natural heating system. Medieval monks wore some of the most effective layered systems of their age. Their winter kit began with linen undergarments, a base layer that wicked moisture. Over that came heavy wool robes, dense enough to trap air and hold body heat. Cloaks, cowls, and hoods added extra insulation. Unlike peasants, monks had access to lanolin-rich wool that naturally repelled water, meaning their garments stayed warmer even in damp weather. They didn't change outfits daily either. Prolonged wear helped preserve warmth. Cloisters might have been cold, but monks carried portable insulation on their backs. If you've ever layered up for a camping trip, you've unknowingly borrowed from their 12th century playbook. Clothing wasn't enough. Survival also depended on what went into the body. Monastic diets were rich in grains, beans, nuts, fish, and dairy. During winter, calories went up. Dense stews, thick bread, salted meats, and hearty ales gave monks the fuel to generate body heat. Even under fasting rules, exceptions were often made in the harshest months. After all, prayer is hard when you're freezing. Herbs like garlic, mustard, and ginger were prized for stimulating circulation, warming from the inside out. Honey wasn't just a sweetener, it provided quick energy to fuel long hours of copying manuscripts in icy scriptoria. The monks' winter diet was less about indulgence, more about strategic energy management. Every calorie was firewood for the body's inner furnace. Monastery kitchens weren't tucked away, they were central. Their fires burned almost continuously, not only cooking, but heating surrounding chambers. Bakeries in particular gave off incredible warmth. Imagine stepping into a stone room where bread was baked daily. The ovens radiated heat, the air was warm, and monks gathered not just to prepare food, but to soak up comfort. Some monasteries cleverly placed kitchens near dormitories or infirmaries, letting residual heat seep into spaces where it mattered most. In a world where every ember counted, the kitchen became both pantry and furnace. Though most peasants relied on smoky hearths, monks experimented with early heating tech. Some monasteries revived Roman hypocausts, underfloor heating systems where hot air circulated beneath stone floors. Even when simplified, these systems made certain chapels or libraries livable through long winters. Fireplaces evolved too. Chimneys directed smoke upward, while iron grates improved airflow. The result? Hotter, cleaner fires that kept warmth inside rather than letting it vanish up the flue. Innovation wasn't about luxury, it was about making the act of study and prayer possible year-round. Without warmth, manuscripts froze, ink clotted, and knowledge itself was at risk. Heating was survival for wisdom. Stone may have been the skeleton, but monks added flesh to their walls. Rushes, hay, and straw-covered floors like medieval carpets, trapping warmth beneath bare feet. Beds were lined with animal hides. Heavy curtains and woven draperies were hung not only for beauty, but to block icy drafts. In wealthier monasteries, woolen wall hangings turned cold stone into warmer, softer surfaces. Every layer was another barrier against frost. Even bedding reflected strategy. Straw mattresses insulated from the ground, while blankets layered fur and wool for maximum retention. This was insulation, long before fiberglass. Proof that survival often comes from layer upon layer. Beyond material tricks, monks leaned on something deeper: mental resilience. Their strict routines kept them moving, whether chanting, farming, or maintaining buildings. Prayer wasn't just spiritual, it provided rhythm, structure, and even psychological warmth. Enduring hardship became an act of devotion, transforming suffering into meaning. For monks, winter wasn't only endured, it was embraced as a season of testing and purification. Their belief turned bitter cold into fuel for discipline. This spiritual warmth kept them from despair, proving survival wasn't just physical, but psychological. So what can we, in our world of thermostats and electric heating, learn from these men of silence? Passive heating. Build with nature, not against it. Orient homes for sunlight. Use thick walls and insulate with layers. Communal living. Shared spaces reduce energy needs. Together is warmer. Natural fabrics. Wool and linen remain some of the best materials for warmth. Mental resilience. Embrace discomfort, find meaning in it, and adapt rather than panic. The monks weren't inventing luxury. They were perfecting resilience. And as we face rising energy costs and climate extremes, their wisdom feels strangely modern. The image of a shivering monk scribbling by candlelight is powerful, but incomplete. Monks were survival innovators, blending clever design, sustainable practices, and unshakable resilience to turn the harshest winters into seasons of endurance and even growth. And here's the question for you. If the power went out tomorrow, which of these monastic hacks would you try first? Would you huddle together, rely on kitchen warmth, or maybe layer yourself like a medieval monk? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear how you'd thrive like a monk through winter's frostiest nights. If this glimpse into medieval survival fascinated you, hit like, subscribe for more deep dives into history's forgotten wisdom, and ring the bell so you never miss an episode. Because sometimes the answers to our future are hidden in the past.